One of the great things about archaeology is that every year we find new evidence that changes, uh, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot of what we thought about what happened in history. And so history is constantly evolving, and as new information comes about. My name is Fransisco. I'm an archaeologist and an explorer with National Geographic. I was 7 years old when my parents took me to visit my relatives in Guatemala and a field trip to visit Tikal. This was many years ago. The ruins had just been restored to their splendor, so they were all white and beautiful. It was so fascinating to me. I had all kinds of questions, like how did they build this beautiful city in the jungle? And what happened to them? The myth started when the Spanish arrived, and they did not think the people that they encountered in this region were the same people that built the great cities in the jungle 500 years ago. They told the local population that they had no real connection to the land, which the Spanish wanted to take away from them. And so this was really just a strategy to dispossess the Maya of their territory. But in doing so, they caused the Maya to forget about their ancient heritage. They were told they were recent immigrants in parts of Guatemala from central Mexico, and they were more connected with the Toltecs and the Aztecs, other people that everyone was familiar with at the time of the Spanish conquest. And that the people that built the ancient cities in Guatemala, in the jungles of Guatemala, had disappeared a long time before. So this is the story that has been told in schools and in the news everywhere up until recently, since the times of the Spanish colony. And archaeology has been trying to tell the truth about this connection that is true, and it's very vital to the Maya, because they're struggling to reconstruct their history. A good example of continuity between the past and the present is a discovery I made 2 years ago or so. Excavating at the site of Homul, we were investigating a pyramid to see if there was anything inside, and to my amazement, there was another pyramid completely preserved within the later one. The Maya had covered it with rocks very carefully so that it was now perfectly intact. And on the front of the pyramid was the carving of the face of a god. It was an old man, and he appeared to be emerging from a mountain. And on either side were skulls and crossbones. And various details allow us to identify him with this god known in the classic period, Grandfather. And he is the protector of life, and as an ancestor, he brings all good things to the living. And this also reminded me of this ritual that I witnessed only a few years ago, and it's still a practice today, where indigenous people go to visit the house of this grandfather figure, who's depicted as an old man, and he's said to live inside a mountain, and he's the protector of life, and so he's being asked for wealth and all kinds of good things. And to me, this was just an amazing case in which a belief that we can now date to 2,400 years ago is still alive today, masked under the appearance of a Western person, and is referred to as a saint because the Maya today have been converted to Christian religion. And they are combining the ancient traditions with the modern day Christian religion. But I think a lot of their saints are actually ancient Mayan gods, and a lot of their rituals are actually performed in a similar way as they were 2,000 years ago. And so there is a direct connection there. So it's very nice to see in ancient history how people had very basic needs like we do today, which is to have food and shelter support their families and hope for the future. And that allows us to have a lot of empathy with those ancient people and their descendants today. And as global citizens, it's very important to know how the world we live in was shaped by those ancient people as we are about to leave this world to our own descendants.